Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond Loss, Loving Life with Karen Chaston. I'm Karen Chaston and I am so grateful that you are here today. Today I am by myself. I thought it was best that we actually had some time just before Christmas to, go through things that may be coming up for people at this time of year. And it is a most unusual year. There's no doubt about that. It's a year that many of us never thought we would ever experience. We never thought that we would be locked down and cut off from our family and our friends and our communities, not being able to, do what we want to do, to be, I guess, stuck and to lose a little bit of say in the way that you want to live your life. We've been directed and we have been guided that this is what's going to happen. So today I'd love for you to comment. Hi, Vanessa. Merry Christmas to you also. And as this show is called Beyond Loss, Loving Life with Karen Chaston, I thought it was a really great idea for me to actually talk about things that come up at this time of year, with over 40 different loss events that can affect all of our lives. We will have, different things that have come up, not only in this year, but, in many years. And it was really funny. As I was preparing this morning, I had a couple of things jump out at me, which I thought was great things for us to discuss. And I'm going to start with forgiveness. And I know it sounds like a topic that I honestly feel that many people misunderstand what forgiveness is all about. And forgiveness is actually for you. It's when you forgive, a person, an event, a thing that has happened in your life, you're not condoning what has happened. You are forgiving so that you can move on. And this morning, this thing from Oprah just popped out at me, and she was talking about how her mum had abandoned her when she was very young. Now, her mum was like 17 when she had Oprah. And she more or less dumped her at her grandmother's place and then went off and, went and lived her life and had another child, which she never even told Oprah about until Oprah was, I think 30 or 40. So, and she came to a realization that she could hold on to this angst, this thing that she was carrying around with her, which was really just this big black mass inside of her, or she could forgive. And she went to visit her mum when she was sort of at the end of her life, and Oprah walked away feeling, well, this is the last time I'm going to see my mum. And she had all of these events scheduled, and she caught a plane and she went back to Chicago. And then she cancelled everything, and she went back to her mum because she thought, I haven't had the forgiveness discussion that I feel that I would like to have. And through it all, Oprah said this, and I'm going to read it because I think it's the best way for me to make sure that you get the whole essence of it. Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been any different. Forgiveness is accepting that it has happened to you. Not that it's okay, just that it has happened. Letting go so that the past doesn't hold you prisoner. Forgiveness is like medicine. It can heal your pain. It can bring you peace, and ultimately it allows you to be free. Forgiveness is the gift you give to yourself. Now, when we understand that, it just makes it so much easier. And if you've been following me for a while, you will know that my Beyond Loss program is called The Gift of Loss. And many people say to me, Karen, how could you possibly say that there is a gift in loss? And there is always a gift in loss. It may not be the loss event. It may not be the thing that has happened that has caused you this pain and suffering. But the gift comes after, in who you become and the way that you choose to live your life after you have moved beyond loss. And at this time of year, it's really important for us to understand forgiveness and to understand that we're doing it for ourselves. It's the gift that we give to ourselves. So I'm really glad that you're here. Hi, Katie, and happy holidays to you also. And thank you, Vanessa. So let's talk about, I'm not going to finish with forgiveness yet. I'm going to talk about, you tell me what you'd like me to talk about. I'm going to, also what I did, which I'm going to read also, is I came into my office and each day I like to draw a card, and I draw different cards from different packs. And this one I drew from the Angel, let me take my fingers away, the Angel Guide Oracle cards from Kyle Gray. And his cards are absolutely amazing. They're so beautiful. And, you know, just inside the box here, it says, "Thank you, angels, for reminding me of your presence and for revealing to me what I need to know. I am willing to listen and receive." And so it is. So after reading that, after listening to Oprah talking about her experience on forgiveness with her mum and everything, and I came into my office and I drew my card. And believe it or not, forgiveness and understanding was the card that I drew today. And it is just here. Let me just get it up from the top of the pack. Just a sec. So here's the card here. Isn't it beautiful? Beautifully illustrated, these cards. So forgiveness and understanding. So let's have a look at what this thing. Okay. As soon as you see the word forgiveness, you'll know where this energy is needed in your life. Forgiveness is the correction to human vision and opportunity to see through the eyes of the soul. And ultimately, it gives us an idea of what it's like to see through the eyes of our angels. Whatever the situation that feels heavy on your heart right now, when this card appears, your angel guide is inviting you to release it. You aren't being asked to accept bad behavior or let it go, but to realize that the only person who's truly been affected by your unforgiving thoughts and feelings is you. You don't deserve to have past events get in the way of present happiness. And so that can only happen if you make space by releasing painful experiences from your heart. So call in your angels and ask them to help you step into the energy of forgiveness. Even if you feel you don't know how to forgive, the willingness to do it will be enough. And then the extended message is understanding why others have committed certain acts or you yourself have made bad decisions isn't always easy. It's important to know that you are always doing the best you can with the information and tools you have. And the more you learn in life, the greater your capacity to make choices from a space of love. When this card shows up for you, it's because angels see you as worthy of fulfilling and exciting experiences. When you are dancing with the energy of forgiveness, you are on the verge of a miracle. This isn't a time to be weighed down by the past, but a time to see beyond it. Isn't that beautiful? So let's have a look at the what everyone's writing. Now, Vanessa, you've definitely changed since the loss of your daughter, of course. You know, there's always going to be that empty space, and my heart goes out to you. And you know, having lost a son myself, I understand what you're going through, and I'm sending you love and blessings. Katie, it's really interesting that you get stuck on forgiving yourself. And to be quite honest, I feel many people get stuck on forgiving yourself. But I think the extended message in this that I've just read out really does help you to be able to forgive yourself. It's about knowing that when we make a choice, we made it with the highest intention. But we knew it, we made it from what we knew at that time. And as we reflect back of it, of course, we've grown and we've moved on in life, that when we look back, we go, oh my God, how did I make that choice? And knowing what I know now, I probably would not make that choice now. But you've got to realize that at the time you made the choice, you had all the information that you were meant to know so that you could make that choice. So I feel that when I look at my things that I've done in my life, I can forgive my choices because I made them from the highest intention, from what I knew best at that time. And my perspective may have been limited compared to what it is now. My information certainly wasn't as I didn't have all the information I have now. And what's really popping to mind, I'm going to share this story, and I'm pretty sure I've shared it before, is when I was 16, I found myself pregnant. And I was raised in a Catholic family. I'm the third eldest daughters of 6 girls and a boy. So as you can imagine, it was not a very good time in my family. I was, 16, and here I am pregnant, and my parents were not happy. And it was get married or adopt my child out. Abortion never came into it, but that's my beliefs. And obviously, being brought up Catholic, you can probably understand why I had two choices I could make. The choice of being a single mother back in 1973 wasn't like the choices now. You certainly didn't have the assistance that you could to even bring that fourth option into my choice. I chose to adopt my daughter out, and she is now 47. She is in my life, and it's not an easy relationship. And of course, I've deep dived into adoption. I've deep dived into the effects that it has, not on the adopted child, more importantly, and there is some great information out there. So, of course, I found it really hard knowing what I know now. How did I make that choice? But I made the right choice for who I was at 16. I have forgiven myself. And I have also done my beyond loss process with not only my 16-year-old self, but also to the baby that I gave up. Now, yes, that is my daughter, but the baby I chose to give to a better life is not the 47-year-old woman that she is now. And it's really important for us to understand the distinction. One of her children said to me, how could you give my mum up? And I'm like, well, I didn't really give your mum up. I never even saw your mum. I gave this baby up. So it is about understanding. I hope that helps you, Katie, to look back at the things that you're finding hard to forgive yourself for, to actually go, do you know what? I've got to honour who I was at that time. And therefore, whatever that decision led me to, whatever pathway it put me on, it was maybe the pathway that I was meant to learn and grow from. Maybe it was a pathway to assist me to become the person who I came here to be, the spiritual being that I'm here to be. Hope that assists. Let me know, Katie. Okay. Carmel, hello and welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome. You were told years ago that I need to work on forgiveness for the Catholic system that I was brought up in. Well, you just heard my story. Yes. There's a lot of good in the Catholic system. For me, I found that the values that they preach, not the values that they live, okay? There is a distinction and there is a difference. So I found that, ethically, honestly, all those sort of things, that I'm really proud of who I am. I have to thank the Catholic system for. But of course, forgive. Forgive it for yourself. As this clearly says, it's so that you can actually live in the moment now. If we're continually living in the past and not sort of being stuck by it, we're not living in the present, so we're not moving on. I hope that helps. Hello, DJ. Nice to see you here. May I please have a card? Lost my grandfather. Okay, I don't do card readings. Okay, I am beyond lost expert. I help people to move beyond loss. But what I'd like to say, and what I've been guided to say, okay, we're all intuitive. I'm very intuitive. We're all intuitive. I'm not about to give you a message from your grandfather. I am sure your grandfather is always with you. Are you seeing the signs? Do you notice something all the time? Like, for example, my son Dan, who's on the other side, when I see rainbows and when I see dragonflies, I know it's him. I have so many dragonflies in my house, you would not believe it, because I have this amazing intuitive friend who, if she was here, she could certainly give you a reading for your grandfather, but she's not. Um, she's stuck in Sydney, I have to say. She was meant to come up for Christmas, but she lives on the Northern Beaches, so at this time, it's not meant to be, but that's okay. She'll be here sometime in 2021. So what I'd like to say is tune in. You are the master you are seeking. You don't need me or anyone else to give you a guided message from your grandfather or from any of your loved ones. It's really important that we understand that. You are the master you are seeking. Tune in, okay? Just tune in. Ask yourself a question and close your eyes. You will get a message. You will get a thing. Ask yourself, is this me thinking or is it not? Grab a pendulum. Start using little pendulums. Ask yes and no questions. Find out if you show me my yes. Look at how it's going forward, right? Show me my no. See how it's changing there. Show me your maybe. See how it's changed. So my yes goes forward, my no goes sideways, and my maybe goes around and around. Start using a pendulum to get the answers for your grandfather. Your grandfather loved you. Okay? He's around you. He is this free spirit, okay? He may not be around you all the time because they still have things to do when they pass. And I can highly recommend so many books for you to read. And I have to say, one of the greatest ones that I found was, and I had read it. I read it in 2001. And Dan passed in 2011. So in 2001, I read the book, which is called Life on the Other Side by Sylvia Browne. Now, I highly recommend everyone read that. Okay, you can. When 10 years later, in 2011, when Dan passed, I bought 10 copies for like $5 each. Okay, and because Dan passed suddenly, we thought a healthy 27-year-old had gone out the night before, and then the next day we found him at our back door dead. Because it was so sudden, we were all quite lost, and I had a lot of people in my life who seemed to be more stuck than what I was. They probably weren't as far down the spiritual path that I had been on. So I highly recommend you reading that book, because not only does it tell you about what we do before we come down, but it also tells us about what we do when we go back. And so I loved reading it again because it sort of gave me an insight to what was happening with Dan. So I highly recommend that you read that, and you'll know what's happening with your grandfather, and you will be able to. Now, if you are stuck, send me a private message, because I have a Beyond Loss program that helps you to heal and move on. And it's not move on to forget, it's to move on so that you can complete the relationship. Now, it's really important that we understand that in every relationship, we have 3 components, okay? So we have a physical component of the relationship, and that's the way we hang out together, the things we do, the things we say, the way we touch each other, okay? Physically touch each other. And then, of course, the second component is our emotional. And this is the way we feel about each other. And it's all encompassing of all of our feelings, the good, the bad, the glad, and the sad. And then the third component is the spiritual connection in this relationship. And it's sort of the intangible. We don't really know why we're so connected to this person, place, or thing, but we know that we are connected instantaneously. So when a loss event occurs, and a loss event can be, there's over 40 different loss events, but at the moment I'm just talking about it. Well, let's actually talk about, it could be death or it could be divorce, because it's important. They're quite similar. Okay. The only difference is that they're still physically here or they're not physically here. And that's the most important part, is when the loss occurs, it is only the physical relationship that has ended. Because we're no longer going to hang out the way we used to. We're not going to do the things we used to. We're not going to speak to each other the way we used to. But the emotional and the spiritual component live on forever. And it's the emotional relationship that causes us all the pain and suffering. And more than likely because you haven't done the deep dive into what these emotions are all about. Because it's about completing the emotional relationship. So you come to a place where you are at love and gratitude and joy for that relationship, whether they're in this realm or beyond. Our feelings are our friends. And most of us don't understand that. They're actually guiding us to say, do you know what? There is something here that requires healing. And we're not even aware consciously on what this is. And that's what the deep dive in my Beyond Loss programs is all about. It helps you to deep dive into you, into the relationship, where you can actually figure out what requires healing. Now, there will be a component where you apologize, where you forgive, and where you acknowledge. And once you have completed doing all that, you then can have a healthy emotional relationship moving forward. So the pain and suffering stops. I hope that all makes sense. Anyway, I'll continue answering these questions, and please type in more if what I've just said has brought up more questions for you. So thank you. Okay, so Leanne, I'm not sure if you heard that I don't do card readings, okay? I help people to move beyond loss. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Okay, Katie, festival life and kids' life forever. Okay. Katie, the one decision I regret affected the rest of my life and my kids' life. Okay, there is a gift in there. And I know that you probably only see the negative side of it, but I highly recommend that you deep dive into that relationship and find all the good and the love and the gratitude that has come from that decision. And once you come to that, then the rest of your life, you will be able to leave that behind. I hope that makes sense. As I said, reach out if you'd like to go further. Hello, Leanne. I've already answered. I don't do covering. Yes, I do know that I only knew. Yeah, Katie. Yeah. I'm not really going to go into it here. If you want me to go into it, we can do a one-to-one. Okay, DJ, feeling really hurt because I wasn't. Okay, DJ, I hope that what I have said about the relationship and how you can deep dive into you and break it up, I hope that helps. What's really good news is I have which I will share, actually, I'll share with you now. Maybe you can download here. I've got an ebook that if you want to visit there, I'll leave that up. If you want to visit there, you can download my ebook. That will help you to understand loss in a way that may be able to help you to move on and to find the gift in it. And I know it comes from a completely different space, but it allows you to take, first of all, it allows you to stop. Then it allows you to accept what has happened. We're not condoning what has happened. We're just accepting it so we can move on. Then what we do is we go deep dive into the relationship, as I said, and we identify all of the things that require us to apologize, to forgive, and to acknowledge. Now, if you feel that there is a relationship where you have nothing to apologize for, I feel that you are not being completely honest with yourself, because there are two people in every relationship. There are two humans in every relationship. Okay. So there is always something for both of us to forgive and apologize for. Okay. It's just life. We're humans. Okay. I'm not condoning anything that has happened, and I don't expect you to condone anything that's happened. But the more that you deep dive into it, the more that you will learn and grow. Remember, we're all on a spiritual journey. It's all about us learning and growing, which gives me the next couple of books that I would really love to highly recommend. As you can tell, I'm just looking it up on my Kindle. I read everything on my Kindle. I just find it really, really fascinating. Okay, so the first book, which is another deep dive into you, into why you may have chosen the things that have happened in your life so that you can grow on a spiritual level. That's what I'm talking about. On a spiritual level, we come down here to have challenges in our life so we can grow, okay? So the book that will really help you all to read, and it's not my book, it's called Your Soul's Plan, okay? Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. I highly recommend that if you're stalled in your life because of the things that have happened in your past, start to read that, but read it with an open mind, okay? Because it will really help you to heal, but it'll also help you to deep dive into look at it from a different perspective. He also has a second book, which to read after that one, called Your Soul's Gift. So Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's Gift, okay? Hope that helps both Katie and DJ. It will really help you heal not only the fact that you didn't go to your grandfather's funeral, but also your relationship with your mum. Okay. Narelle, hi, nice to see you. Hi, I just wanted to ask, as I said, Narelle, I don't do readings. I can't answer that for you, but no, I can't answer that for you. Okay, will forgiveness work the same way if written in a letter to the person? Okay, Casey, part of the process that I do is we do actually write a letter, but we never send it to the person. We never read it to the person, whether they're in this realm or beyond. There is no requirement for that. But the letter, as I said, will have those three components in it, where you will apologize, where you will forgive, and where you will acknowledge. Now, what is the point? Why do you want to send a letter to the person so that you can forgive them? Forgiveness is all about you, okay? You do it for you. It's not about you forgiving what they've done. It's about you forgiving the fact that it has happened, okay? I don't expect you to condone whatever has happened, and there's no need for you to ever do that. That's not part of the forgiveness process. And part of my course, I actually talk about two amazing forgiveness processes. One is called radical forgiveness, and the other is called the Ho'oponopono prayer, which I highly recommend that you can just type into the internet and you'll get both of them. It's about you understanding that. So I hope that helps. Rennie, nice to see you. Good morning. Okay. Nice to see you from Durban, South Africa. Okay. I don't do card readings, but I can help you move beyond loss. Okay. As I said, download my book, reach out, and we can go from there. I'm in the process of bringing together a paperback book. Okay, I'm like halfway through it at the moment. And it actually will deep dive even further into what this ebook is all about, because this is what I feel. Okay. I feel that none of us know how to really move beyond loss. There are over 40 different loss events that can affect our lives. And sure, we may know the major ones, things like loss of a loved one, a divorce, a separation, your job loss, your health, your wealth, your pets. But if we look at the year that we've all experienced, and let's face it, no matter where you live in the world, we have all experienced a most unusual year. But a lot of the loss events have really come to the forefront. Loss of status, loss of identity, loss of, choice, change in work conditions, change in social activities, change in recreational activities. But what I've found with every single person that I have worked with is what we lose more than anything else in our relationships is our loss of identity. Now, that's huge, but every single person I have worked with comes through the process of going through my gift of loss process. They have come to the realization that they have lost themselves in this relationship. And when we realize that we are the only person we are going to spend our entire life with, it really does start to make us wonder, why am I putting myself last? Why am I giving up on my dreams? Why am I losing me? Okay. And I'm not saying, right, that we shouldn't love. I'm not saying that we shouldn't give ourselves into a relationship or to look or to, I'm telling you, I'm not telling you anything. I'm suggesting that we start to look at the way we're living our lives, because that's what this year's all been about. It's about us being forced, in many respects, to stop and do a deep dive into our lives, to say what is working, what is not working, what can I literally throw out of my life, what can I bring into my life, what can I keep doing. That's what this year's been about. Now, I did this stop back in 2013, 2 years after my son passed, because before that, I was just on this journey of doing the way that we've all been sort of taught for centuries and centuries and centuries. Just keep busy, just give it time, just, do all of this. And Kubler-Ross did amazing research in her 5 stages of grief. But the only issue with her research is it doesn't give you a better way to do things. And that's what my program does, because her 5 stages of grief is everyone compares themselves to it and they go, right, okay, I'm normal. I'm at this stage now and I'm at that stage and I'm doing this. And of course she says that, you'll go in and out of the stages. They don't come in any particular order, but you will be there until you come to acceptance. It doesn't have to be that way. That's just the way we've done it for centuries and centuries and centuries. And when I was in my CFO role, everything I ever did, I was always like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. There has to be a quicker way. There has to be a different way of doing this. So I was constantly asking myself, how can I make this better? Which obviously is a trait in me, which I've probably got from my father. Definitely got from my father, because he was quite a successful businessman. And it was through that when I did stop, like more or less 2 years after Dan passed, that I went, this isn't working. Like, just look around. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to know how to do a better way. No one is comfortable in loss, any sort of loss. They give you 2 weeks and if you're lucky, and then you spend the rest of your time suffering in silence because no one wants to talk about it. And you look at the world that we've created because no one is comfortable in loss, and it doesn't matter what sort of loss it is, that we end up, having thriving alcohol industries, pharmaceutical industries, therapists. We have all of these thriving things, even shopping is called retail therapy. So when you start to look at the world that we've created and you sort of look at shopping, it's retail therapy, but how long do you have the high? And if we're honest, it's like 15 seconds. It was only a couple of weeks ago, I read this amazing post from a guy who was talking about, he became the valedictorian, I can never say that word, valedictorian of his college. And he said that for the whole year, when he told him 1 year out that he was in the running to be this, all he had to do was follow these steps and he would become it. And he followed the steps. But then when his name was read out, he went up and he grabbed the award and he said, great, this is fantastic. I have really worked for a whole year to achieve this reward. And the reward was, apart from the accolade, he got to do a 15-minute speech at graduation. And in his 15-minute speech, he told all of his peers, his family, friends, and all their family and friends, how he had worked his ass off to achieve this award. But he was on a high for 15 seconds. By the time he got back to his seat after his name had been read out, he went, is that it? Is that all I'm going to feel? Like, I thought my whole life was going to change because of this. And then he realized, and he started to look back at his year, and he started to look back at his year, and he started to realize that it wasn't worth it. The things he had given up to achieve this award, the activities he didn't go to, the dinners he didn't go to, the conversations he didn't have, he hadn't lived his life. All he had done was study so that he could achieve this award. And he said, and what I received from it was 15 minutes of fame. 15 seconds of joy, 15 minutes of fame by being able to actually talk at the graduation. So that's what we need to do with our lives, is we need to dive into it and look at the cost and the rewards. Okay, if you are losing you in your life, it's time for you to start to look at your life and say, how can I do this better? How can I live my life, have all of my relationships, live in every single area of my life? And in my Chaston Centre, there are 9 areas of life. Now, when I was in my corporate CFO role, I was living in one, my professional space. My health was suffering. My relationships were suffering. Even though I was earning great money, I was wasting a lot of it just to get through the day. So that, I guess, is what my Beyond Loss is really all about, and that's what our whole life is about. We're on a journey to find who we are. And if you feel that there is something missing in your life, if you feel, that Narelle, if, having your house is going to make your life all this much better, will it? I'm not saying it won't. I just want you to question, because you're living in a house now. Does it really matter if you own it or if you are renting it? Does it really matter? I don't know. But if you feel there is something missing in your life, maybe that something is you. Because until you find you, and it is a deep dive into you, and it's not easy. I'm not going to tell you it's an easy deep dive, but it can be when you're guided on how to do it. But you will then find all the joy, all the love, all the happiness, not only from within, but you will start to put it out there so that every single relationship in your life will then improve because your relationship with yourself has improved. We're all energetically connected. And when we have the love and the joy within us, it just automatically comes out to everybody. And and that's why I say there's a gift in loss. If Dan hadn't passed in 2011, I don't think I would never have done the deep dive like I did and continue to do. It's a continual journey because it's like layers and layers and layers. Like a lotus is just opening and opening. And as we know, as it opens, there's more and more and more for us to discover. And that's why I love to help people to move beyond loss, because it's in that deep dive that you will find you. Okay. I hope that helps. Okay, I'll go back to answering the questions. Any more, just ask, and please let me know if there is anything else you would like me to share. I think I've got like 18 minutes left. I hope this is fun. I hope you're enjoying this. Okay. Okay, Casey. Casey follows on from, yeah, okay. As I'm saying, Casey, you don't even need to speak to them. You just write the letter. I highly recommend you read it out loud to someone, not the person who you've sent it to, but I highly recommend that you read it because it's like energy then goes out. So it's like they've read it. And believe me, if they're in this realm and you read it to someone else, okay, they will feel the energy of that letter. They will feel your forgiveness, okay? But when you choose the person you read it to very, very carefully, because there are a little, like some stipulations, and I'll share that with you now. When you read a forgiveness letter or you read a letter, a completion letter to someone, it needs to be someone who will honour you, who will listen, who will not comment, will not make suggestions, because it's your completion letter. And it's really important for people to understand that you have included everything in that letter that you wanted to include that letter. So it's not up to them, who is coming from a completely different belief system, a completely different experience of, they've never walked an inch in your shoes. So it's very important for them to understand that your letter is your letter. So read it to someone who will just listen. They are just physically being there in the energy, in the replacement of who you have written this letter to. And then the other person will feel it, okay? And you don't want them to feel it so they feel bad. You want them to feel it so that they understand that you have forgiven them so you can move on, okay? Forgiveness is always about you. It's never about the other person. There was an old saying, holding on to things is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. So if you look at what you're holding on in that perspective, it really does make it a lot easier to go, do you know what? It's time for me to release this. It's time for me to forgive it. I'm not condoning what they did. I'm just moving on. Hope that helps. Okay, Rani, it's really good it's not good that you've lost yourself, but thank you for commenting. How did that happen? That's interesting. I don't know what happened. I clicked there and it just showed. That was interesting. Okay, so Rani, thank you for being so open and honest. I hope that you've done the process to find you again. I have so many people, so many comments when I share my book for people to download it, and it's a free download, the ebook that I just had up a moment ago. It's really important for, us to realize the things that we say, maybe things that have been said for centuries and centuries, and it's time for us to deep dive and look at the things that we say and actually go, do you know what? Maybe this is not the most ideal thing for me to say. I've had so many people go, I've lost my loved one, they've passed away, I will never love again, I will never get over it. Now, let's look at those words. Okay, you may have lost the great love of your life, but why will you never get over it? You are the only person you're going to spend your entire life with. You are a spiritual being. And sure, you have been physically living with them in this realm. But when you start to look at who you are and the journey that we're all on, like we're all on a journey to go back home, I guess is the best way to describe it. We're all here playing a role, playing a part. We're all in our own little movie. And sure, at times we probably go, oh my God, why have I decided on this movie? Can't we just change the script, please? Because this is not working for me. I totally understand that. But let's face it, we are in this movie. We are living a life, and we're all on a pathway to go back to being a spiritual being. Whether you believe that or not, it doesn't really matter. But let's, for the sake of it, just look at life that way, because I feel that when you do look at life that way, it makes everything seem not so dramatic. It makes everything seem like, okay, why did I choose this? How can I grow from this? How can I live a better life? How can I have better relationships? How can I learn and grow and become that person? I'm here to learn these lessons. So how can I ensure that I get these lessons? I meet so many people that keep having the same partner in a different body. And it's like, maybe there's a lesson that you just haven't learned. If you'd learned it from the first person, the other 2 or 3 wouldn't have had to show up. And which reminds me of another book, The Radical Forgiveness, which I mentioned earlier. I highly recommend you download that book and read that book as well, by Colin Tipping. Because he actually really goes into that in great detail about, until we get the message, it's going to continually have this scenario repeat and repeat and repeat in our life. Once we get the gift and the understanding, it stops remarkably very quickly. So if you feel that this same thing keeps happening and happening and happening, start to do the deep dive into you and go, okay, what's this about? What am I meant to learn? How am I meant to grow? How can I heal? And then you will find that those negative things, perceived negative things, will stop showing up to you. Okay. Hope that's okay. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Any more questions? I've got like 10 minutes left. This hour has gone so quickly. And I thank you for being here. I really do. So anyway, let's get back to I'm glad you're doing the deep dive, Casey. And if you need any help, reach out. Just message me. Download the book. Here, I'll bring the book back up for the next, so that you can all know where to go to. Yeah. So, Christmas. Okay, so a few people have talked about they've lost loved ones. They've had partners who are still in this realm, but it's not great. So Christmas can be a very, very time of upheaval. And the fact that, around the world, so many places are in lockdown, aren't in lockdown, probably will not be able to physically be with their loved ones, which is a loss event, a huge loss event. So what I'd like you to do is, I'd really like for us to look at a little process that may help, okay? So deep dive into you. Deep dive into where you're feeling. Get your pendulum out, ask the question, find out, what your yes is, find out what your no is, find out what your maybe is. You can just see it changing as I say those words. Ask if you're hydrated. Very important. Yes, I am hydrated. Very important that you find out you're hydrated. Otherwise, you'll get false positives or negatives. So start asking your questions. If you're feeling whatever you are, just ask yes or no questions. Is this feeling in relation to whatever? Can I heal this feeling? How do I deep dive into it? Is it for me to forgive? Is it for me to apologize for? Just start asking those questions. What is it about this feeling that I can acknowledge and deep dive into you? You can deep dive into the relationship, as I mentioned. But more importantly, you can find out what will bring you love and joy in this moment, because we can always come to love and joy and gratitude in this moment. Just look around at, everything that you have. And you might, turn around and say, oh, I don't have anything. And you go, do you know what? You do have. You can always find 5 things to be grateful for. 5 different things every day to be grateful for. And it's really important for us all to know that there's someone in the world wishing that they were living your life. So when we think of it from that perspective, it really is, things could always be better, but then things could always be worse. So start to look at your life from the higher vibrational scale of how you're feeling, come into love, come into gratitude. It's really funny, I have this little Louise Hay calendar here. It's nearly empty, obviously, because today's the 21st of December. Today in the Southern Hemisphere is the longest day of the year. Obviously in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the shortest day of the year. But it's also a gateway where we are really starting to deep dive into the age of Aquarius. Now we're coming out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius is all about us coming into love, into gratitude, into our feminine perspective, aspect of us, whether we're male or female, we have that. So for the past 2,000 years, we've been in the age of Pisces, and Pisces was, you got to just look back at the past 2,000 years and you can clearly see that it was all about wars, masculinity, all those sort of things. So we're coming into a time of more love, of more harmony, of more peace. So it's really important for us to remember that. But anyway, I wanted to read what it says today, which I thought, there's so many signs around you. Light always dissolves darkness. Love always nullifies hate. Spirit always cancels problems. So if you're feeling this week a little bit lost, because of whatever has gone on, whoever you have lost, whether they're in this room or they're not, start to look for the light, okay? What's the light in my life? I feel really dark in this space, but what light can I see? How can I go more towards the night? Not literally like, when you pass, but how can I look for more the light in my life? Because there is always light. We live in a world of duality. So there is always light, there is always darkness, but it's just what you focus on is what you see. So if you ask your question, how can I change my perspective? So I feel so dark, I feel so down, I feel so lonely. Okay, how can I not feel this? How can I move to the light? Love always nullifies hate, okay? And it can be really easy to hate someone when they have done not so ideal things to you. But look to the love. It may be, as we've heard today, that someone is the father of the children, and they were abusive to me, but they will always be in my life because they are the father of one of my childs or all of your children or whatever. So look for the love in regards to that relationship, and try to bring the hate down. He may be a good father even though he wasn't a good husband. He may be still providing on a financial basis. Look to the love of it, as opposed to always throwing the hate at it. And when you start to look at it from that different perspective, you will actually find that the love will always overshadow the hate. Okay? There's always two perspectives. There's always a different way of looking at things, As Wayne Dyer, who has always said his infamous saying, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So start to look at this. So, from darkness to light, from hate to love. And then spirit always cancels problems. So just know that spirit has your back. They were always there for you. Have you been asking? Because they can't do anything until you ask. Okay, ladies, I'm down to like less than 3 minutes now. So any more questions? All I can say is I really do hope that you have an amazing Christmas. I've just given you some great tools. Look to the love, look to the light, look to the joy, look to everything to be grateful for. When you start to bring those higher vibrational feelings into your life will become exactly that, because we are what we think, and we are what we feel, and we can feel the spirit within us. We are all spiritual beings. We're all so connected. And whether they're in this realm or beyond, they're always with us. There's this little veil between us. And, just look for it. Look for the signs, as I said earlier on. For for Dan, my beautiful 27-year-old son who passed 9.5 years ago, he shows me dragonflies, he shows me rainbows. And look at a rainbow, we can't have the rainbow without the rain. So that in itself is a beautiful thing to always remember. The sun is always shining, even when we have clouds and we have rain. So understand that. Look for the brighter side of life. As Monty Python's famous song is, always look to the bright side of life. Okay, now I've gone crazy. Okay, Colette. Colette, of course he's with you, and it's really important that what you've acknowledged is you felt him gone, but now you feel him back. They're doing, like, when they pass, they do this life review, and they compare what they wanted to do to what they did, and then they figure out why it was so hard and they couldn't achieve everything that they wanted to do in this realm. And that's really important for all of us to understand that, because we're in the same scenario. So they're off doing lessons, and they're learning, and they're growing, and they're healing, so that they can become this eternal spiritual being, which is exactly what we're all in the process of being. So it is beautiful that you can feel him around you. You don't need me to tell you anything. You already know. You are the master. You are seeking. So deep dive into you. And, he's around you. He's guiding you. Look for the signs. As I said, for my son, I always get rainbows and dragonflies. For my dad, who passed even longer ago, he passed in 2003, I get feathers. And real lot lately, when I've been walking with my husband and our dog, little Sirius, I've been finding a feather a day. And every time I find a feather, I go, "Oh, Dad, great to see you. What is it you'd like to tell me?" And then I close my eyes and I listen, right? And you will just know that, you're hearing it from your loved one, it's a different message to a thinking. You will just know, and it's about you coming to know and to trust. You know, we're all here to trust. So trust the messages that are coming from your loved ones. I'm over time. So I honor and I thank you all for being here. I really would love you to write any comments down below. Reach out to me if you would like to know more. Of course, you can download the book, but otherwise, have an amazing Christmas, and I will see you here next week, Monday the 28th, just before New Year's, just before we go into 2021. So thank you. Great, Kerry. I'm glad you're watching the replay. Reach out. Bye, everybody. Have a great week and have an amazing Christmas. And I hope Santa is good to you. Bye.